Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. How are you? I hope you all are well. I am your English teacher. Students, today we are going to start chapter number 15, Three Men in a Boat. It's on page number 125 of your book. This is first session of this chapter. Students, this is a story of three friends. Speaker who is telling us the story, George and Harris. They are traveling together. During their journey, they had discussed about their previous journey when they faced many problems in finding a hotel to stay at night. Okay, students, let's begin the chapter to know more about the story. Students, as usual, first I'll read a paragraph, then I'll explain it in English and Urdu. And before explaining, I'll tell you meaning of difficult words. Let's begin. After you pass Old Windsor, the river is somewhat uninteresting. George and I towed up past the Victoria Bridge, and as we were passing Datchet, George asked me if I remembered our first trip up the river, and when we landed at Datchet at 10 o'clock at night and wanted to go to bed. I answered that I did remember it. It will be some time before I forget it. Students, towed up means the men are in a barge in certain places. The barge has to be pulled by someone on the bank. Here, students, as I told you, this is the story of three friends. Here, speaker is telling us that when you passed Old Windsor, the river gets little uninteresting. George and speaker towed up past the Victoria Bridge, and when they were passing Datchet, George asked to speaker whether he had remembered their first trip up the river. He also said it was 10 o'clock when we reached at Datchet, and we wanted to rest. Speaker replied, yes, I remembered. Okay, students, now I'll explain it in Urdu. स्पीकर के मुताबिक जब आप ओल्ड विंडसर से गुजरते हैं तो रिवर थोड़ा अनइंटरेस्टिंग हो जाता है। जब जॉर्ज और स्पीकर कश्ती को विक्टोरिया ब्रिज तक खींच कर लाए और जब वो डैचेट से गुजर रहे थे तो जॉर्ज ने स्पीकर से पूछा, क्या तुम्हें हमारा पहला ट्रिप याद है जब हमने रात 10 बजे लैंड किया था और हम फौरी तौर पर आराम करना चाहते थे? तो स्पीकर ने जवाब दिया, यस, मुझे याद है। लेट्स मूव ऑन। It was a Saturday in August. We were tired and hungry. We seemed three, and when we got to Datchet, we took out the hamper, the two bags, and the rugs and coats, and started off to look for lodgings. We passed a very pretty little hotel with clematis and creeper over the porch, but there was no honeysuckle about it. And for some reason or other I had got my mind fixed on honeysuckle. And I said, oh, don't, let's go in there. Let's go on a bit further and see if there isn't one with honeysuckle over it. Students, hamper means large basket used for carrying food for a picnic. Lodging means temporary accommodation. Clematis means a climbing plant. Creeper means any plant that grows along the ground. Students, this paragraph states that it was Saturday and the month of August. Speaker said we were tired and hungry. When we reached at Datchet, we took out our hamper and all luggage and searched for lodgings. When they passed a very pretty little hotel, it was covered with clematis and creeper over the porch. But there was no honeysuckle, and speaker has fixed in his mind that he will stay where there is honeysuckle. So he said, don't go inside. Let's go a little further to look for a one with honeysuckle over it. Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. वो अगस्त का एक सैटरडे था और हम बहुत टायर्ड थे और बहुत हंग्री फील कर रहे थे। हम तीनों जब डैचेट पहुंचे हमने अपने हैम्पर और बाकी तमाम लगेज निकाला। हम बहुत एक खूबसूरत होटल के पास से गुजरे जिसके पोर्च पर क्लैमेटस और क्रीपर था, लेकिन वहां पर कोई हनीसकल नहीं था, जिसकी वजह से स्पीकर ने कहा कि हम थोड़ा आगे जाकर देखते हैं, शायद कोई ऐसा होटल हो जहां पर हनीसकल हो। एक्चुअली स्पीकर ने अपना माइंड फिक्स कर लिया था कि वो ऐसे ही होटल में स्टे करेगा जहां पर हनीसकल हो। हनीसकल इज अ टाइप ऑफ प्लांट। So we went on till we came to another hotel. That was a very nice hotel too, and it had honeysuckle on it. But Harris did not like the look of a man who was leaning against the front door. He said he didn't look a nice man at all, and he wore ugly boots. So we went on further. We went a fair way without coming across any more hotels. And then we met a man and asked him to direct us to a few. Students, leaning means be in or move into a sloping position. This paragraph states that when three friends went further, they reached to a hotel. That was a very nice hotel and it had honeysuckle over it. But this time Harris raised an issue. He said he didn't like the man who was leaning against the front door. He didn't look a nice man and he wore ugly boots. So they moved on. They didn't see any hotel and then they met a man and asked him for any hotel. Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. जब ये तीनों फ्रेंड्स आगे बढ़े तो इन्हें एक और होटल नजर आया जो कि बहुत नाइस था और उस पर हनीसकल का प्लांट भी था, लेकिन हैरिस को वो आदमी पसंद नहीं आया जो कि फ्रंट डोर के सामने झुका हुआ था। उसने कहा यह आदमी देखने में अच्छा नहीं लग रहा और उसने बहुत अगली बूट्स पहने हुए हैं, लिहाजा ये लोग फिर आगे चल दिए। आगे उन्हें मजीद कोई होटल नजर न आया तो उन्हें एक आदमी मिला जिससे उन्होंने होटल्स के बारे में पूछा। ओके स्टूडेंट्स, लेट्स मूव ऑन टू नो व्हाट हैपेंड विद देम। He said, "Why you are coming away from them? You must turn right round and go back, and then you will come to the stack." We said, "Oh, we had been there and didn't like it. No honeysuckle over it." "Well then," he said, "there's the manor house, just opposite. Have you tried that?" Students, the stag is the name of an inn. It's a place to take refreshment or stay. This paragraph states that when the speaker and his friends asked a man about any hotel, he asked, "Why are you coming from there?" He suggested them go back for the stag. Three friends replied, "We are coming from there. We didn't like it, as there was no honeysuckle over it." Then the man replied, "Okay, there is also the manor house on opposite side. Have you tried it?" Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. जब उन तीनों फ्रेंड्स ने उस आदमी से किसी होटल के बारे में पूछा तो उसने कहा कि आप उस तरफ से क्यों आए, आप वापस जाएं तो वहां पर आपको एक स्टैग नजर आएगा। उन तीनों ने कहा हम वहां गए थे मगर वो हमें पसंद नहीं आया क्योंकि वहां पर हनीसक्कल प्लांट नहीं था। देन ही सेड, उसके ऑपोजिट साइड पर मैनर हाउस भी है, क्या आप वहां पर गए? ओके स्टूडेंट्स, लेट्स मूव ऑन। Harris replied that we did not want to go there, didn't like the look of a man who was stopping there. Harris did not like the color of his hair, didn't like his boots either. Well, I don't know what you'll do, I'm sure, said the man, because they are the only two inns in the place. No other inns? Exclaimed Harris. None, replied the man. What on earth are we to do? Cried Harris. Students, this paragraph states that when the man asked Speaker and his friends about the manor house, Harris replied, "That was not good. We didn't like the man who was standing there. Harris also didn't like the color of his hair." Then the man said, "I don't know. What will you do? Because there are only two inns." Harris shouted surprisingly, "No other inns?" Man replied, "None." He cried and said, "What on earth are we to do?" Okay students, now I'll explain these lines in Urdu. जब उस आदमी ने इन तीनों को मैनर हाउस सजेस्ट किया तो हैरिस ने जवाब दिया, "हम वहां नहीं जाना चाहते क्योंकि हमें वो आदमी पसंद नहीं आया जो बाहर गेट पर था।" हैरिस को उसके बूट्स के साथ साथ उसके बालों का कलर भी पसंद नहीं आया था। फिर उस आदमी ने कहा, "वेल, फिर मुझे नहीं मालूम कि अब आप लोग क्या करेंगे, क्योंकि यहाँ सिर्फ दो ही इंस थे।" हैरिस ने हैरत से कहा, "नो मोर इंस?" उस आदमी ने जवाब दिया, "नो।" इसके बाद हैरिस ने चीख कर कहा, "हम इस जमीन पर क्या करने आए हैं?" Okay students, let's move towards last paragraph of today's lecture. Then George spoke up. He said, "Harris and I could get a hotel built for us if we liked and have some people made to put in." For his part, he was going back to the stag. Harris and I sighed and followed George. We took our things into the stag and let them down in the hall. Students, this paragraph states that after this, George told to all, "Harris and I could build a hotel." So now he was going back to the stag. Harris and the speaker went back to him. They took their luggage and reached a hotel where they put their things in the hall. Okay students, now I'll explain this paragraph in Urdu. इस सारी सिचुएशन के बाद जॉर्ज बोल पड़ा। उसने कहा, अगर हैरिस और मैं चाहते तो एक होटल बना सकते थे और उसमें कुछ लोगों को रख लेते। उसका इशारा हैरिस की तरफ था। उसने कहा कि वो स्टैग जा रहा है। हैरिस और स्पीकर ने भी उसे फॉलो किया और जब स्टैग में वो लोग दाखिल हुए तो उन्होंने अपनी चीजें हॉल में रख दी। Okay students, we will end today's lecture here. Inshallah, we will begin in the next session to know what happened with them. Did they find a room in the hotel or not? Now move towards exercise A. Students, exercise A, it's on page number 133 of your book. Now you can see two question answers of this exercise on your screen. Question number 1 is, why does the author say it will be some time before I forget it? Why do you think he remembers the episode so well? Answer is, the author remembered his first trip because of all the troubles his friends and he went through to find a place to stay. Question number 2 is, what objection did Harris have to staying at the manor house? Answer is, Harris did not like the look of a man at the front door at the manor house. He did not look a nice man and wore ugly boots. Students, now you can see exercise B1 on your screen. It's also on page number 133 of your book. Read these lines from the story and then answer the question. We passed a very pretty little hotel with clematis and creeper over the porch. Students, we read this line in today's lecture. Question is, who was passing the hotel and when? Yes, students, who was passing the hotel? Yes, the author was passing the hotel. stag along with his friends George and Harris. It was quite late, 10 o'clock at night, a Saturday in the month of August. Let's move on to our second question is, were they carrying anything? Yes, students, tell me, what did they have with them? Yes, the men were carrying a hamper, two bags, rugs and coats. Last question is, did they stay at the hotel? If not, why? Yes, students, did they stay at the stag? Yes, no, they did not stay at the hotel because the author wanted a hotel with honeysuckle over the porch instead. Students, read this chapter thoroughly. First make title page and index, then do question number 1 and 2 of exercise A and exercise B1 in your English literature copy. And also learn these question answers. Inshallah, we will continue this chapter in the next session. Thank you. Till then, take care of yourself and your family. Allah Hafiz.